A lot of intermediate programmers still confuse the difference between Lambda expressions and the anonymous method. Yes, sometimes they actually look the same way and behave the same way, but then Lambda expressions are how the anonymous functions are created in a, in a nutshell. So they are the anonymous functions that actually contains expressions or sequence of operators itself. And on the left side, we have the parameters. On the right side, we have the expressions. And the lambda operator is what we write in this way, like I just wrote here in the compiler. This is the lambda operator. So we can have the parameter uh, on the left side, and we can have our expressions on the right side. But I will show how that works. Let's quickly create an employee class. And in the employee class, we'll have a parameters like uh, employee. I mean, we'll have properties of employee. So employee will definitely have something like employee ID, and then we want to also, recreate other properties to that. Let's give the employee name a string variable, employee name, and then salary, of course. So now we have our employee class here. So in the drive class, what I'll do is I'll, create a list of employee, right? Let's give that employee details. So here I'll be creating several employees in the list. New employee, employee ID. Let's give that 101. Employee name. Let's give the first employee name as James Bryan. Then James Bryan is having a salary of let's say 6,000, right? And that being said, I would create another employee. By the way, let's just quickly create like 3 of them. Okay, so here I have 3 employees. This will be employee ID 102 and 103. Let's give this Mary Jones, Mary Holly. Salary is like 7 grand. Let's give this John Tipton, just for example, and salary is 9,000. So now we have employees created here, right? So what we are going to do now is I'm going to try and use some anonymous method to actually call employee 101. But let's see how that works. So this is where the whole idea of link you anonymous method and lambda extraction comes in. So if I want to get something like, for example, maybe the names of employee that starts, all the names of the employees that starts with only J, we have, link you queries, link you methods that has dot starts with. We have dot find, dot count, where, select, a whole lot of them. We'll look into them. But then what if I go ahead and create a method that can actually look for the names of the employees that actually starts with J, or first of all let's look for employee that starts with one employee with ID 102. Then I can have something like you know um employee details dot find. I want to find the employee that starts with 102 ID, right? So find is one of the method in link itself. So what I'm going to do here is creating the anonymous method using the delegate keyword. I explained about delegate in my um, last video. You should check it out if you haven't seen it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give an employee type. Let's give that employee E. Then assign that. So I want it to return the E.employee ID go to 120.102, right? Okay. So this here is an anonymous method. Just one line of code. It's an anonymous method. And if I go ahead and let's assign that into, let's keep that into a variable here, employee emp. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is let's print that. Employee name go to 0. Employee salary 1. So we'll have employee ID as well. That's actually 0. And we'll keep this to 1. And we'll keep this to 2. So what are the objects we are trying to get, the values? That's going to be the emp dot employee ID, emp dot employee name, emp dot salary. Okay, and there we have it. So we'll print it out here, read line. So let's see what we have actually using this anonymous method to get employee that starts with 102. So that should give us the Mary Holly, right? Mary Holly should be the return result here. So we'll see how anonymous method works in a split of a second. And there we have it. We have Mary Holly, our employee 102, employee name, employee ID, and employee salary. So this is me using anonymous method here. But then I can go ahead and use a Lambda expression. Let's try something like so now that is anonymous method, right, using delegate. So let's try something like uh Lambda expression. Here I want to count all the names of employees that start with J, right? So let's do something like employee details dot count. So in the count parameter itself is where I'll put my Lambda expressions. I can just put any variable there, maybe X, then using the Lambda operator. This is a Lambda operator here. So X will give me all the access to all the properties of the employee object. So X dot employee name dot start with, then I want to put J there, right? So let me assign that into a variable, integer variable. Let's put that count employees with J. Okay, so now this is whatever all the employees that start with J will be stored in this variable. Now this variable is what I'll work with, and I'm going to go ahead and print that console.writeLine. Let me just put employees with names, employees starting with J equal to, then I'll just put this one here, this copy here. So let's run that and see how that works. First of all, let me comment this first one, and so we don't confuse. Okay, So if we run that, we should see how many employees we have starting with J. We have James and John, right? So here we have employees starting with J is equals to 2, right? So that means that the Lambda expression works. So, and we can also do a lot with it. Actually, we can select, we can, there's a lot that comes with the LinkQ class itself. It's a kind of query class here for manipulating data itself. So definitely, that is how it actually works. So in the first one, we've implemented anonymous method, and secondly, we've implemented a Lambda expression. But the Lambda expression is actually much more shorter and easier. I don't even need to declare a delegate or even pronounce the type and parameter. Here I just, this is what it works with, this object, whatever I assign here, and I use the Lambda operator, and the Lambda operator will give me access to all the properties of the objects. And I can also use the LinkQ method to actually filter the data I'm trying to get. So basically that is how it works. That's the basic difference between Lambda and anonymous method. They all have their own functionalities, but personally I always go for Lambda expressions. So don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. Thank you.